Hey Lucha Underground fans, don't forget if you enjoyed this week's episode, please go to fanstalklucha.com, click the big green button, and pledge a couple pesos our way. Every week, the Fans Talk Wrestling team delivers over 3 hours of content to your podcast feed. And really, there's nothing like being able to connect with other wrestling fans that share your passion for the products you love. Every little bit will help keep this Lucha going. The more you support means the more time we can devote to sitting down with you every week to talk wrestling. From the Fans Talk Wrestling family at fanstalkwrestling.com, this is Fans Talk Lucha. It's a weekly conversation about what's going on in the world of Lucha Underground by the only married podcast team that covers Lucha Underground. This is episode 6 and covers Lucha Underground Season 1, episode 16, which aired on February 25th, 2015. My name is Garvin, and I'm once again joined tonight by mi esposa. Hello. Say hello.
Hola.
Fans Talk Lucha is a podcast series that is brought to you exclusively by the paid members of the FTW community. So, quick shout-outs before we totally get into the conversation. Shout-outs to Nick, Diva Jill, Stoney Guerrero, and someone named Steffagru for continuing the conversation through comments on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube this week. Now, you can also continue the conversation on fanstalklucha.com as we finally brought comments back to our podcasts. So here's some things you guys said to us this week in the comments. As far as the Matanza theories, Nick pointed out, he said, do you guys remember when Cueto first had the title belt in the backstage segment where he was near the jail cell area? He looked off camera and addressed someone, saying something along the lines of, "I can't let you touch this. I know how you like to break little things, or pretty things." Do you remember that?
No, but...
Okay, I remember that, and yeah. That was a good point, Nick. Diva Jill, she said, and then there's Cueto's key. I believe it might be to open up the cell, opening it to unleash Matanza onto the temple. So yeah, he has that key that goes around his neck.
I just assumed it was chocolate.
Man, so there's a lot of different things that are working together, and yeah, it totally makes sense. But now, well, you know, it wasn't this week. It was the previous week. We saw the mysterious woman finally find Matanza, finally find whoever it was that she was looking for. It kind of begs the question because we didn't really see what happened next. Is like, you know, we had the quick flash of black on the screen. It almost sounded like as if she got taken by the guy, but maybe it was just, you know, a dramatic scene ender type thing. But it should be interesting now that she knows that he's up there. She should probably see the key as well. She might be able to put some things together. So I don't know. Maybe she comes back for Cueto.
They need better security in that temple.
Yeah. Well, they did just get security, so
yeah, a random security team.
As far as the Katrina versus Meal issue that we had last week, obviously, you know, we kind of argued who was more at fault for whatever drama that they have in their relationship. Basically, like, which character was the sympathetic one. Nick pointed out, he said, you know, it's a really good point was raised about Katrina, though, you know, I don't understand why Mil Muertes is being painted in a sympathetic light by commentary. Yeah, Katrina might have a little bit of a gold digger in her character, as she was jumping ship from a serial loser to a rising star like Phoenix. But let's not forget who she's leaving either. Katrina's not a nice lady, but Mil Muertes is a total bastard. Nobody's clean in this breakup. Not even Phoenix. Anne-Marie pointed out, well, when you bring up the supernatural elements of Mil Muertes' character and the backstory given to him, can we really expect him to react to things the way a normal person would? Keep in mind, I'm only going by the character backstory, but his whole life has been nothing but rage and pain and death, and Katrina has this sort of like channel of power over him, to what ends we don't know at this point. So, you know, she has likely been his only true human interaction for as back as he can remember. And now she is the only, and now not only is she turning, her back on him, basically abandoning him and flaunting it in his face, but she also seems to be abusing the supernatural style control that The Rock, gives her. So yeah. So again, back to this argument of who the more sympathetic character is. Honestly, neither
It's
are.
neither.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. But just the way that the commentary team like seems to have sided with Mil Muertes is odd. But you can kind of see where they're coming from. Just it shouldn't be as cut and dry as Mil Muertes is being mistreated when really, you could see both
Well,
sides.
he's holding a woman by the neck.
Yeah. And then the last comment we're going to read is from Stoney Guerrero, and he said, "I'm glad you're continuing to show your wife." I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're continuing the show, comma. There should be a comma there. There's no comma there. Your wife has weird and funny opinions. I can listen to her critique wrestling for at least 5 hours. It's so funny.
Next week, 5-hour critique.
Yeah.
Lucha Underground.
Bonus episode of Fans Talk Lucha will be 5 hours. You've asked for it, Stoney Guerrero.
Hopefully it goes better than our 3-hour Valentine's Day special.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's get into this week. So in the first minute of this week's show, I made a note, and it was basically just kind of really pleased with how they start an episode. It's like they've got like a minute and a half where they're either playing a video package or it's the commentary team introducing you to the main important things that are going to happen tonight, as well as like recaps of the week before. So it's like this nice introduction to the show, to what you're going to see, to why what you're about to see is important because of last week, and then it goes right to a match. So I like that it's very brief, very simple and succinct. So
it's well organized.
Yeah. The first match was Aerostar versus Drago, and when this match started, obviously I think we've all been pretty much behind Drago. The guy has been fantastic. Aerostar, great wrestler. No complaints about his wrestling ability this week. Seemed to really show a lot of good signs. Just that he doesn't have a character.
He's not as theatric.
Yeah, so it's hard to get behind this guy because we really don't have a reason to. Like, Drago is obviously a very special and unique guy. Aerostar is like this random wrestler.
I like this match though because when I first started watching this type of wrestling, I really liked the high flying and the jumps off the rope, and that's what I had come to expect of Lucha Underground. But in this match, I saw a lot of great mat work, and having only ever seen WWE style shows, I was kind of familiar with maybe 3 types of pins, and that was it. But there was so much on the ground wrestling and tumbling going on that had nothing to do with jumping off rings or fancy flips, and it was still entertaining, and I really appreciated seeing something different.
Yeah, and this match felt like it went on for like a good
it was a long
15, 20 minutes maybe.
I think they were equally matched too. In terms of size and skill level, it was good, and they were able to show each other off because I think that skill-wise, I think they're equal athletes.
Yeah, and you definitely saw good things out of both guys. What was really nice for me, obviously my complaint is while Aerostar is a good wrestler, there's not like that character that you can kind of relate to or get behind.
Not yet, for us at least.
But we have been given a quote unquote special opportunity by
special unique opportunities.
by Cueto, because he took about a minute and a half to say this, but 3 out of 5 fall series that we're about to get. So basically, they both have a win over one another, and he's going to let them continue to fight back and forth until one of them has 2 more wins. So basically, it's a 3 out of 5 match.
I love this
series.
Storyline touch because this fits in with my theory that Cueto, instead of being the bad guy he tries to look like, is actually really a recent graduate of management school. So he's not saying, you do this and I will give you something. He's saying, you do this and I will give you the opportunity to do it again and improve yourself and achieve something.
Yeah.
It's classic management school. It's like he's got the stick and the carrot, and he's dangling this carrot of opportunity in front of them.
Yeah.
But he's holding the stick of motivation in his hands.
But there is a little bit of sinisterness to it, because the way he introduced the idea was, you guys obviously like each other, because they were showing each other respect, and they were being friendly after the match. So he's like, even because you guys are friends, I'm going to put you into potentially 3 to 4 more matches.
Well, you can't be personal in business, and this is a business.
Right. And so that's where I think this is leading to, is that this is going to basically create this story where it's going to separate these two, where they're not going to respect each other because one of them is going to want it more, whatever that opportunity is. And we know the unique opportunities have been like Aztec Warfare, the $50,000 in the briefcase. So I'm sure it'll be something along those lines as far as level of, importance.
What bothers me about this is that he hasn't said what the unique opportunity is. It could be anything. It could be the opportunity to wash his car. Don't ever enter a contract, you guys, if you don't know what the consideration is.
It could be the first opponent for the Matanza guy.
Yeah, you don't know.
You never know.
Just don't blindly agree to things. That's just a life tip.
So we got a video package of King Cuerno in the back, running the ropes and diving through. It
was slow-mo
very
spectacular.
Slow motion.
It didn't really do anything.
I don't know. I think it was trying to promote his upcoming match and show like how good he is.
It showed a lot of abs and booty.
Yeah.
It was like
The
watching
ripples,
softcore porn.
Yeah, the ripples of like his rear as he hit the ropes.
Some close-up junk shots.
Yeah, it was really odd.
It was a little sexual.
Yeah, and it was also like the weird camera angle because it was like you were underneath him almost.
Yeah.
So, it didn't really do anything for me.
I enjoyed it.
But him diving out of the ring and kind of really slowly flying over top of you, I thought was kind of cool. Just, it didn't need to be that long. Like, it was realistically...
Didn't it?
It was realistically about 7 seconds of footage that they slowed down to be about 45 seconds.
Typical. It's really 7, but they're going to tell you it's 45. Ladies.
You didn't have to go there. All right, so Cage versus Prince Puma. This is the non-title match to basically if Cage wins, then he goes on to fight Prince Puma again for the title. Most interesting thing for me was that this was not the main event. This is your top story, right? I mean, this is your top title. This is the guy that he's your first champion going against the guy, like his first major opponent that totally destroyed him, ripped the title, embarrassed him in front of his manager. And it's in the middle of your show. I thought it was kind of odd placement.
It was odd placement, but I really liked the match.
The match was fantastic. I marked it as a potential match of the year candidate. Obviously, we're in end of February, so there haven't been a whole lot, but definitely, great storytelling. Cage is fantastic.
He is. He surprised me so many times. He did a flip backwards off the ropes that I didn't think someone...
Moonsault.
Is that what that's called?
It's called a moonsault.
It was awesome, and he looked good doing it. I did not expect him to do that kind of move. And Puma, too. I mean, you have to be a real athlete to take the kind of abuse he did.
Oh, yeah. Well,
just watching that was hard.
And it wasn't only just the action that he was taking. It was also like when he fell out of the ring, like on his head.
Mm.
Lots of dangerous looking spots that he was able to like walk away
You have
from.
to be in really good shape to not hurt yourself.
Yeah. But Cage, fantastic work. I mean, it wasn't just the moonsault. It was the deadlift German suplex. You also had Puma standing on the ground, Cage inside the ring on the first rope, reaching down, pulling up Puma, and suplexing him, like in one swift motion. So awesome.
Smooth. It was really good to watch. But this did bring up a question for me that I'm going to put out to you readers as someone who is not...
Listeners, you guys.
You guys, yes. You people who are listening, and you too, my husband, who likes to tell me things that may or may not be true. During this match, I noticed that there were a lot of holds between the legs when Cage was flinging Puma around, and I thought, obviously Puma's a flexible guy, but how do wrestlers do this and not hurt their private bits? I mean, it was incredibly painful to watch, and even more so when you saw him reaching between his legs, and I thought, that's a lot to sacrifice for a job. If they're not wearing any kind of protection, how does this work, clothing-wise? What are they doing so that they're not sterile for the rest of their lives after something like this?
I can't necessarily answer this because I often question as well. I know to me, it's not obvious that they're wearing cups because cups are like really
The cups
bulky.
bulge.
Yeah. I don't, and they hurt.
I don't know, but
they hurt your thighs. Yeah. Whatever.
where they're pressing against your skin.
Man. And the pants are so tight. So I just imagine they're layering on the underwear side of things and positioning. They aren't just reaching up and like in one quick motion. I think there's kind of like a gentle push to the side as they pull up, but also they're not putting the pressure there.
That's
like the
true.
arm goes around, but the pressure is really like for like a suit for a like a body slam. The pressure is not on the crotch, even though that's where the hand is. It's really on like the ass because you're reaching around. You're reaching like through. Let's move on. That's not the question I thought you were going to ask. The question I thought you were going to ask is who is they?
Oh, yeah.
They call him Cage.
That too. Whenever Cage is announced, it's they call him Cage. Who is this they? Cage has made it a point to say that he comes from no family and no history and he is a loner. So who calls him
Also,
Cage?
They need to be a little bit more consistent because the commentating team still calls him the man they call Cage.
But he's made it
not,
clear
yeah.
he's not a man, he's a machine.
Guys, we've figured this out already.
Get it together, announce table.
So, but yeah, Cage should be champion at some point. The guy is awesome. He is really showing.
Yeah,
that
we
he
made
can
fun
kick
of him
it.
a little when we first saw him. It was the facial hair, not gonna lie, but he's proved himself to me.
So, end of the match, Conan threw in the towel, literally.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens.
I thought it was hilarious, but apparently that's a boxing thing.
Well, I said it was a boxing thing because that's where I remember first seeing it, like in the 80s and early 90s, but I don't know exactly where it came from. Yeah, I don't know. It's a rarity in wrestling, but you see it every once in a while, like Bob Backlund versus the Iron Sheik. When Iron Sheik won the title off of him, it was a towel throw-in. That's when I first saw it in wrestling, I thought.
What was significant to me, too, was this came several episodes after that interview where Conan wouldn't let Puma speak,
right,
answer for himself. And so, admittedly, Puma was getting just beat up in the ring and couldn't do much about it. But here's Conan again stepping in and speaking for him by throwing in a towel. Yeah,
but again, listen to what Conan says before, during that segment. It was more along the lines of, he was doing Puma a favor because he wasn't allowing Puma to continue to be damaged in a non-title match.
Well, and they had
save your
indicated
energy for the big match.
They'd indicated he already had some kind of injury.
Well, he's been out for a month, I think. Pentagon Jr. Squashed the guy and dedicated the match to his master. Threw the dude through a table.
It was about a minute long. It wasn't that impressive. It was more the same.
Yeah, it was kind of lame, I think.
Actually, given what Pentagon Jr. can do, it really didn't show off any of his skills.
No,
it was
super short.
They just rehashed those themes of serving a master and breaking an arm.
Yeah, if you look at last week, like comparing this episode to last week's episode was very story heavy. So lots of talking, lots of story being told in the ring. This was more match.
It was
stuff. This was more wrestling. And even the end was Johnny Mundo versus King Cuerno. That ended in a double countout, so a draw.
I'm confused about something though.
Yeah.
So every time King Cuerno comes out,
yep,
they go on and on about how he's like a hunter.
Right. That's how he got the hat with the deer on it.
But I'm pretty sure that Cuerno means croissant. And with that deer, I just assumed he was from Quebec. I mean, he's so subtle, you guys. Is he a hunter? I just don't get it. I mean, the imagery is just, it's just not developed.
So we did this research before. Cuerno, fourth definition down is croissant. Okay? Because that's funny. I mean,
obviously I'm
right.
being sarcastic. I wish they would do more with Cuerno than just go on and on about how he hunts his prey.
Right. He's a hunter, but I don't know. I don't know really what would help that scenario. Just saying the guy's a hunter and that's why he's stalking around doesn't necessarily express the motivation. Cause even on commentary, they can't seem to understand what his motivations
And
were.
I like
is he
him.
going after is he going after Johnny Mundo because he has some kind of grudge against him? Is he going against Johnny Mundo because he wants to go after Puma, and Mundo and Puma are friends even though they're not really friends? Like that's the stories that the commentary team are telling, but it's like
it's really unfocused, and it's a shame because Cuerno's so good at staying in character. I love the way he stalks like an animal. He stalks down the stairs, and I like the way he creeps out of the ring, and I think that he's a very good actor that way. So it's a bit of a shame that his storyline right now is all over the place, and all they can say is he's like a hunter on his prey. He's going after the injured knee. I mean, we get it, you guys.
All right. El bueno y el malo. The good and bad. What was the best thing that happened this week?
Well, this is not something that I have talked about on air, but I really dig the way they open with their house band, Mariachi.
El Mariachi Bronx.
Mariachi Bronx, yeah. They are great.
Yes. They seem to go back and forth between which bands they have there. So sometimes it's El Mariachi Bronx, and then other times it's kind of like a heavier punkish style band. But definitely
that doesn't do it for me. Yeah, this band was great, and this episode, I think I liked what they were playing at the beginning.
Yeah, for me, my favorite part of the night was just seeing how well Cage is developing. I've seen him before in TNA, and he never really was given a lot of time. It was like one match here, and then like 6 to 8 months later, another match. But we never really got to see what he can do. Now we've seen him week after week, and the guy is fantastic. So, yeah, more Cage. Worst part of this week.
I wouldn't even say this was all that bad, but for me, as someone who is not as into wrestling, who's more into the writing, I was a little disappointed at the lack of storylining in this episode. It just captures my attention more. It gives me more to think about. It puts the matches in a context for me, and without that, it's just pure wrestling, which just doesn't have the appeal for me.
I like having the nice balance, but when we're starting to get used to how good the story is for Lucha Underground, like that's what we want more of.
And it's felt like they took a step back this week.
Yeah, this week probably for me was the worst episode of the entire series, just because it didn't really feel like we were developing anything.
And it's a shame because the wrestling itself was so good. We really appreciated the wrestling.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like Puma versus Cage, that's obviously telling a good story, but like the focus on Pentagon Jr. was a little slack. The way the main event ended, with Cuerno and Mundo going to a double count out, it was just kind of lame because
it was haphazard.
It wasn't just that it ended in a double, count out. Like that's cool. Like I like that they went back and forth. But like this week, if that match, how that match ended was handled last week, we would have security breaking it up. You know?
That's
like,
a good point. There's not a lot of consistency. Yeah.
So, but two things I want to say, before we close out. And really these are actually like good things. Sexy Star. Forgot to mention Sexy Star was in the back with Cueto this week. She wanted revenge against the crew for taking out El Mascaritas and Pimpy. So that was cool to have her going to Cueto and saying, I want revenge, and him like saying, well, maybe you should have a partner go with you. And she's like, no, I want to do this alone. I can handle myself, kind of thing. I thought that was great. I'm interested in how Big Rick versus Sexy Star next week it works out.
This was one good little storyline thing they did throw in this episode that was void of storyline, is that now in 2 occasions in this episode, he has put 2 people who are kind of allies against each other because
they're
going to be opponents. So this is now twice in the same episode.
They're not allies. They just have a common enemy. And it was more along the lines of, it's not because you two are fighting the same people, it's that, you both want something. I want violence, so you fight for the opportunity to get your revenge.
I hope that's a good match. I like what they're doing with Big Rick, and I hope that his wrestling style has changed a little with the character change.
And the other thing I want to add, I popped inside for this, but I heard you chanting Lucha, Lucha, Lucha with the crowd during the Mundo.
I was also clapping and dancing.
So that was nice. That was a good sign for me. All right, so we don't have any Ask FTW questions this week, but don't forget, if you want to take part in this conversation, you can email questions at ftwpodcast.com. You can message us on the FTW Podcast Facebook page. You can tweet at FTW Podcast, leave a review on Stitcher or iTunes, post a comment on fanstalklucha.com, or even leave a voicemail at 313-444-FTW4. That's 313-444-3894. We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. So definitely include us on that. Again, next week, we're going to get Sexy Star versus Big Rick. It's kind of unclear, but I think we're going to get the championship match between Puma and Cage, but they might hold that off. I imagine they would hold it off, but they really didn't specify. And then also, we can only expect another Pentagon Jr. versus random person.
Arm break / table shot.
Yeah. All right, don't forget, become a paid member of the FTW community by going to fanstalklucha.com and clicking the big green button. Last week, we released about 40 additional minutes of bonus content to our supporters, and it's all because of you. You have become an investor of this podcast. You have become our friend. You've become someone I feel close enough with to call you by your first name, unlike my wife. So thank you. Thank you for listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, or however you listen. If you listen through a service that lets you leave ratings and reviews like Stitcher or iTunes, please give us all of your hearts and let people know that they should add us to their podcast queue. And when you watch next week's Lucha Underground, make sure to mention us in your conversations on Twitter, G+, and Facebook. We want to hear your reactions. See you guys next time here on Fans Talk Lucha.